My daughter lied to my face. "Dad, Hawaii is canceled. Financial problems." I believed her, gave her my whole heart. But then I saw them on Facebook, on the beach with my in-laws, in a limited paradise. A month later, she begged me for $100,000. I handed her something else. "Take this instead." She looked at it and fainted. "Just listen to what I gave her." Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and write in the comments what time it is where you are now. The phone rang twice before I realized my hands were shaking. Celeste's name glowed on the screen. Second call this week, which wasn't like her. I swiped to answer and heard it immediately in her voice. That careful tone she used when delivering bad news to clients at her marketing firm. "Dad, we can't do Hawaii. I'm so sorry." The afternoon sun streaming through my living room window suddenly felt too bright. I looked at the shopping bags on my couch, the Hawaiian shirts still folded inside with their price tags attached. $180 I'd spent 3 days ago. "What happened, honey?" "Stewart's company is downsizing. There's a chance he'll lose his position. We just can't afford any trips right now. I know you were looking forward to it." Her words came out smooth, rehearsed almost, but I pushed that thought away. My daughter was in trouble. "Honey, I understand. These things happen in business. The trip isn't important. What matters is that you and Stewart get through this. If you need anything, anything at all, you know I'm here." Silence stretched between us. Then, "No, Dad, we need to handle this ourselves. But thank you. That means a lot. I'll call you when things settle down, okay?" We said goodbye. I set the phone on the coffee table and stared at those shopping bags. 1 week earlier, I'd been standing in this same spot when Celeste called with the invitation. Her voice had been bright, excited even. "Dad, what if we did Hawaii together? End of March? Just you, me, and Stewart. Real family time." I'd felt something warm spread through my chest. Genuine happiness, the kind I hadn't experienced since retiring from real estate 2 years ago. I hadn't seen her since Thanksgiving. 4 months. That night, I'd stayed up past midnight, researching Maui restaurants, reading reviews of snorkeling tours, studying a guidebook I'd ordered from Amazon. I found a tour company that went to Molokini Crater. Spectacular reviews, reasonable price. I booked it immediately, entering my credit card information with steady hands, imagining Celeste's face when she saw the coral reefs. The next day, I drove to the barbershop for a trim. Got my hair shaped up nice. Then CVS for sunscreen. SPF 50, the good kind that doesn't leave white streaks. At the department store, I spent an hour in the men's section picking out those Hawaiian shirts. The saleswoman had smiled at me. "Special occasion?" she asked. "Vacation with my daughter," I told her and meant it. Each evening that week, I'd flipped through the guidebook, marking pages with sticky notes. Sunrise at Haleakala, the road to Hana, a luau in Lahaina. Maybe she'd finally understand that family meant more than keeping up with the Morrisons, her in-laws who always seemed to need her attention more than I did. Now I picked up one of the shopping bags, pulled out a shirt covered in palm trees and surfboards. The fabric felt expensive between my fingers. I folded it carefully, placed it back inside. The next morning I'd returned everything. The department store customer service counter had a short line. The clerk scanned my receipt, asked if I wanted store credit. "No. Refund, please. I won't be needing vacation clothes." She processed the return without questions. $180 back on my card. At home, I opened my laptop and navigated to the tour company's website. Found my reservation in the confirmation email. Clicked through the cancellation process. 3 screens of "Are you sure?" prompts. Yes, I was sure. A refund would arrive in 7 to 10 business days. I tried calling Celeste that afternoon. It went to voicemail. "Hi, sweetheart. Just checking in. Want to know how Stewart's doing? Call me when you can." She texted back an hour later. "Busy dealing with everything? We'll call soon." 2 days passed. I called again. Voicemail again. Another text. "Still figuring things out. Talk later." By the end of the week, I'd stopped calling. The texts were enough to tell me she needed space. I understood that. When you're dealing with a crisis, sometimes you can't handle other people's concern, even your father's. But sitting alone at my kitchen table that evening, phone face up beside my coffee mug, I couldn't shake a strange feeling. I scrolled through her messages, all brief, all vague. Never a callback, just these quick dismissals. 4 months since I'd seen her. 4 months, and now this. I set down my coffee. The house was too quiet. Through the window, the Scottsdale evening stretched out in shades of orange and purple. My neighbors were coming home from work, garage doors opening and closing in sequence down the street. Maybe she'd posted something on Facebook. I rarely checked it. Couldn't remember the last time I'd actually logged in. But people posted updates about their lives there, didn't they? Maybe there was something about Stuart's situation, something that would help me understand. I reached across the table for my laptop. The laptop screen glowed blue in my darkening kitchen. Facebook loaded slowly. I typed my password wrong, twice, before giving up and clicking, "Forgot password?" The reset email took 3 minutes to arrive. I created a new one, typed it carefully, hit enter. My newsfeed appeared. Random posts from former colleagues at the real estate firm. Photos of grandchildren I'd never met. Spam from groups I didn't remember joining. I scrolled down, not looking for anything specific, just wanting reassurance. Then I saw it. Celeste's post, 6 hours ago. A photo. Celeste and Stuart on a beach. Sunset behind them. Golden light making everything look perfect. Glenn and Nora, the Morrisons on either side, all four of them smiling like they'd won something. The caption read, "Best family vacation. Archer's Ohana time. Hawaii dreaming." I stared, reread it, checked the date stamp, posted yesterday. I clicked on the photo, enlarging it until their faces filled my screen. Celeste's smile was genuine, not the polite one she gave me during holiday dinners. This was real joy. Stuart had his arm around Glenn's shoulders. Nora wore a flower lei. Behind them I could see an expensive resort, the kind with infinity pools and private cabanas. My chest tightened. My hands went numb on the keyboard. Vision narrowed until there was nothing but that photo. I clicked the arrow. Next photo. Glenn holding a Mai Tai, standing on a resort balcony. Next, Nora and Celeste at what looked like a luau, wearing matching flower crowns. Next, all four of them in snorkeling gear, standing on a boat. That boat. I recognized the company logo on the captain's shirt. Molokini Crater Tours. The exact tour I'd booked and canceled. The exact dates we were supposed to travel together. I sat back, breathed slowly through my nose, clicked back to Celeste's main page and scrolled down through her recent posts. 2 weeks ago, before she'd called to cancel. "Can't wait for upcoming adventures." The comments underneath made my stomach turn. "Lucky you!" "So jealous." And Nora's comment, posted the day after Celeste had invited me. "So excited for our family trip." Our family trip, not ours. Theirs. I scrolled further back, found a post from 3 weeks ago. A screenshot of plane tickets with the destinations blurred out. Caption reading, "Countdown begins." Glenn had commented with a string of palm tree emojis. 3 weeks ago, before Celeste ever called to invite me. The pattern crystallized. She'd planned this vacation with the Morrisons first, then invited me. Maybe Glenn and Nora pressured her. Maybe she felt obligated. Then she'd uninvited me with that story about Stuart's job, about finances, about needing to handle things themselves. Stuart's job was fine. Their finances were fine. That resort in the background cost $400 a night minimum. They needed me out of the way. I didn't rage, didn't punch the table or throw the laptop. My real estate training kicked in instead. Document everything. Evidence first, emotion later. I took screenshots, every photo, every comment, every timestamp. Saved them to a new folder on my desktop. Celeste, March 2025. Methodical. Professional. Like reviewing a contract before signing. When I finished, I had 17 files saved. I closed the laptop with a quiet click and sat in the darkness. I hadn't bothered turning on the kitchen light. The sunset had faded completely while I'd been lost in those photos. I reviewed the facts clinically. 1. Celeste planned a Hawaii trip with her in-laws. 2. She invited me as an afterthought. 3. She deliberately canceled using a false excuse. 4. She went anyway with the Morrisons. Why? Was I too boring for them? Too old? A reminder that Celeste came from somewhere other than their upper-middle-class Scottsdale social circle? Or maybe simpler, the Morrisons wanted their family vacation. Just them and Stuart and Celeste chose them. I stood, walked to the kitchen drawer, and retrieved the notebook I used for grocery lists. Opened to a fresh page. Wrote at the top in careful block letters, "What I know, what I need to know." First entry. Celeste lies easily. Why? What does she want? I spoke each word as I wrote it, my voice the only sound in the empty house. Don't call. Don't text. Don't let her know I know. Wait. Watch. Learn. I closed the notebook and tucked it beneath some old bills in the drawer. The laptop stayed shut on the table. My phone sat there too. Screen dark. No new messages from Celeste. She was too busy enjoying Hawaii to check in with her father. I walked to the window and looked out at my neighborhood. Porch lights glowing. Someone walking a dog down the sidewalk. Celeste would return from Hawaii in a few days. She'd probably call, expecting me to know nothing, expecting me to be the same supportive dad I'd always been. And I would be. I'd answer the phone. I'd ask how Stuart was doing. I'd tell her I understood. That family comes first, that we'd do Hawaii another time. I'd play the part perfectly, because now I needed to know exactly who my daughter had become. My phone buzzed for the third time that morning. I didn't turn it over. The spreadsheet on my computer screen was titled Assets, April 2025. I'd been working on this for 2 days, ever since I'd discovered the Hawaii photos. The notebook from my kitchen drawer sat open beside my keyboard, now filled with several pages of notes in my careful handwriting. Celeste had been back from Hawaii for 3 days. She'd called 4 times. I'd answered none of them. My phone buzzed again. I glanced at it, still face down on my home office desk. Let it ring. Let her wonder. The spreadsheet told a clear story. Property tax assessment. $850,000 for the house, no mortgage. I'd paid it off 5 years ago with proceeds from my final commercial sale. Investment portfolio statements spread across my desk showed $420,000 in mixed index funds and bonds, conservative allocations, the kind you make when you're retired and don't need risk. My 401k rollover sat at $380,000. Bank statements showed $95,000 across 2 savings accounts. Total, approximately $1,745 million. I wasn't just counting, I was planning. The next spreadsheet hurt more to create. I titled it Gifts Celeste Griffin Morrison 2017-2025. 8 years of marriage, 8 years of emergencies. I pulled up old bank statements, clicked through years of digital records. Found the wedding contribution, $25,000, paid by check in June 2017. I still had the image saved. Pay to the order of Celeste Griffin for wedding expenses. $15,000 toward her Honda in 2019 when she'd called crying about her old car breaking down. $8,000 for living room furniture in 2021. Dad, we're finally buying our first real couch, the one we've been saving for. But those were just the large ones. I scrolled through Venmo history, found transaction after transaction. $2,000 for unexpected medical bills, $3,000 for Stuart's certification course, another $2,000 when their air conditioning died, $1,500 for emergency home repairs. Each time, she'd called with urgency in her voice. Each time I'd transferred the money within hours. I tallied the final sum, $79,400 over 8 years, nearly $10,000 per year. Every year, for almost a decade. The pattern was undeniable. I wasn't a father to her. I was a bank. My phone rang again. I picked it up this time, checked the screen. Voicemail notification, 4th one this week. I played it on speaker. Dad, I'm getting worried now. You haven't called back. Please let me know you're okay. I'm going to stop by this afternoon, around 3. I need to see that you're all right. I checked my watch. 2:47 p.m. 13 minutes. I saved the spreadsheets, closed them, put the notebook in my desk drawer, locked it, walked to the bathroom, checked my appearance in the mirror. I looked the same as always. Gray stubble I'd forgotten to shave, reading glasses hanging from a cord around my neck, old cardigan with the stretched pockets. The doorbell rang at exactly 3 o'clock. Through the window I saw Celeste's silver Lexus in my driveway. She stood on the porch holding a coffee carrier with 2 cups. Her concerned expression looked practiced. I took 30 seconds to compose myself, breathed evenly, arranged my face into neutrality, opened the door. Dad, I was worried. She thrust one of the coffees toward me. You haven't been answering your phone. I called 3 times this week. Are you okay? I'm fine. I accepted the coffee, but didn't drink. Just busy with some things. You didn't need to drive over? I stepped aside. She entered, looking around like she expected to find evidence of crisis. Medical emergency, fall, something that would explain my silence. We sat in the living room, not the kitchen where I'd discovered her betrayal. That room was contaminated now. Celeste perched on the edge of the couch, her coffee cup balanced on her knee. She started chattering, nervous energy filling the space between us. Work has been crazy since we got back. The marketing campaign deadline moved up, and Stuart's been putting in extra hours. You know how it is. She didn't mention Hawaii directly, testing whether I knew. The weather's been beautiful, though. Have you been getting out? Maybe we could do lunch sometime this week. Sounds busy. She waited for me to ask questions. Usually I did. How's the campaign going? What's Stuart working on? When did you want to do lunch? I said nothing. The silence stretched. She sipped her coffee, set it down, picked it up again. So what have you been up to? You said you were busy? Just been handling some paperwork, financial reviews, that sort of thing. Oh, another pause. That sounds thorough. 15 minutes passed like this. Brief exchanges followed by uncomfortable silences. I could see her growing more uncertain with each response I didn't give, each question I didn't ask. Finally, she set down her coffee with more force than necessary. Dad, is something wrong? You seem different, distant. Did I do something? I looked at her directly for the first time since she'd arrived. I'm the same as I've always been, Celeste. Maybe you're the one who's changed. The statement hung between us. Her eyes widened slightly. Did he know? How could he know? I don't... What do you mean? How's Stuart's job situation? I kept my voice level. That downsizing you mentioned? She blinked. Oh, that. It worked out. False alarm. Everything's fine now. I'm glad to hear it. I watched her face carefully. Must be a relief. Yes, huge relief. She laughed nervously. So we didn't need to worry after all. Just one of those corporate things that sounds worse than it is. I nodded, didn't smile, didn't reassure her that I understood. She stood abruptly. I should get going. Stuart's expecting me home. But Dad, please answer your phone next time. I really was worried. I walked her to the door. She turned on the porch, looking like she wanted to say something else. Changed her mind. Got in her Lexus and pulled away. I stood at the window, watched her car disappear down the street. Then I returned to my office, unlocked the desk drawer, pulled out the notebook, opened to a fresh page, wrote at the top, next steps. Below it, 3 items. 1. Legal consultation, trust attorney. 2. Asset protection strategy. 3. Wait for her next move. My phone sat on the desk, screen dark. She'd call again. Next time, I'd answer. I'd be pleasant. I'd listen to whatever she needed, and I'd use every word to build my case. But first, I needed to talk to a lawyer. The attorney's office was on the 14th floor. I took the elevator. Richard Chen's firm occupied a modest suite in downtown Phoenix, Chen and Associates, etched in frosted glass on the door. I'd arrived 15 minutes early for my 2 p.m. appointment. The manila folder on the passenger seat of my car contained printed copies of my financial spreadsheet. The notebook sat beside it. I'd found Chen through 3 hours of research. 5 client reviews had convinced me. Thorough. Explains complex concepts clearly. Protected my assets from family disputes. That last one had caught my attention. The receptionist led me to Chen's office. He stood when I entered. Mid-50s, dark suit, firm handshake. His office was professional without being pretentious. Law books lining shelves, family photos on the credenza, framed certificates on cream-colored walls. Mr. Griffin, please sit. He gestured to a leather chair across from his desk. You mentioned on the phone you're interested in estate planning? I settled into the chair, placed my folder on my lap. I'm 63, retired, with substantial assets. 1 daughter, married. I'm concerned about asset protection and tax optimization. I'd like to explore setting up an irrevocable trust. Chen opened a legal pad, made notes. Irrevocable trusts serve several purposes. What are your primary goals? I want to support causes I believe in while ensuring proper management of assets. Long-term protection against potential claims or disputes. He nodded. Family disputes are more common than people realize. Are there specific concerns about your daughter? I chose my words carefully. I want my estate distributed according to my values, not assumptions about family obligations. Understood. Chen leaned back. Let me explain how irrevocable trusts work. Once established, you cannot modify or reclaim assets placed in them. The beneficiary you designate at creation has clear legal rights to those assets. You give up control permanently. That's what makes them powerful for asset protection, but it's also irreversible. Are you certain about this direction? I'm certain. I've spent considerable time thinking about my legacy and what I want to support. This is the right structure for my goals. Chen walked me through the mechanics. The trust would hold whatever assets I transferred. Could be cash, property, investment accounts. Beneficiary designation was critical and permanent. Tax benefits existed if structured correctly. The process would take 2 to 3 weeks. Draft documents, review, revisions, notarization, then formal asset transfer. Cost is $3,500 for comprehensive trust creation plus will revision. Does that work for your budget? That's fine. I didn't negotiate. This wasn't a casual inquiry. We spent another 40 minutes discussing details. I provided my financial overview without emotional context. Chen asked technical questions about tax basis, estate valuation, potential challenges. Professional throughout, he never pressed for personal motivations. At 3:30 we shook hands. I'll have draft documents within 3 days. We'll schedule a review meeting once you've had time to examine them. I drove back to Scottsdale as the afternoon traffic built on the I-10. By the time I reached home, my phone showed 2 missed calls from Celeste. She'd been calling more frequently since our tense visit 10 days ago. Rebuilding rapport, warming the waters she'd felt ice over. I called her back. Dad, I was hoping to catch you. How was your day? Fine. Had some appointments. What's going on with you? Oh, the usual chaos at work. But I wanted to tell you something interesting. Her tone shifted. Careful enthusiasm. Stuart and I met with some friends last week. They're opening a coffee franchise. Apparently there's good money in specialty coffee these days. They were talking about the business model, and I thought of you. You always understood commercial properties and business investments. Coffee franchises can be profitable in the right location. What's their concept? Who's managing it? I don't have all the details yet, but it sounds solid. Local roasting, community focus, that kind of thing. I'll find out more. We talked for another 10 minutes. She asked about my week, told stories about her coworkers, mentioned Stuart casually. The call felt almost normal. Almost. 3 days later, Chen emailed the draft trust documents. I printed them, reviewed every page at my kitchen table. The irrevocable nature was spelled out in precise legal language. The grantor hereby permanently and irrevocably transfers. Beneficiary line was blank, waiting for my decision. I spent that evening researching Arizona veterans charities. Found one with transparent finances and strong ratings. Arizona Veterans Alliance. 87% of funds went directly to programs helping homeless veterans. Annual reports were public. Board members listed with credentials. I emailed Chen. Beneficiaries should be Arizona Veterans Alliance, Phoenix chapter. Also request addition to will. Explicit statement that daughter receives nothing, unless she accepts trust terms without challenge within 30 days. His response came within an hour. Understood. Will revise accordingly. This is enforceable under Arizona law. Celeste called again 2 days later. Dad, remember that franchise I mentioned? They're looking for investors now. It's a limited opportunity. They only want a few partners who understand business. Would you be willing to look at their business plan? Just for your opinion. You have such good instincts about these things. Send me what they have. I'll take a look. Can't promise anything, but I'm happy to give you my assessment. Thank you. I really value your input. I'll email it today. The email arrived at 4:47 p.m. Subject line, Coffee Shop Investment Opportunity. The attached business plan was 23 pages of poorly formatted text and unrealistic projections. Market research consisted of generic statistics about coffee consumption. Management team had no restaurant experience, just enthusiasm and ambition. Financial projections showed 25% annual returns. 25%. in a coffee shop. The ask was buried on page 19. $100,000 for a 15% equity stake. I read every page twice, made notes in the margins of my printed copy, checked their numbers against industry standards I remembered from commercial real estate. None of it made sense. I emailed back, "Interesting. Let me think about this for a week." Her response came within 2 minutes. "Of course, Dad. Take all the time you need. Though they did mention they need to know by end of the month. Other investors are interested too. But no pressure. Just wanted you to have first chance since family comes first." Family comes first. I closed my laptop. The trust documents sat in a folder on my desk. Chen would have final versions ready in 10 days. April 25th. The business plan printout lay nearby, its absurd projections practically glowing with red flags. My phone buzzed. Text from Celeste. "Thanks, Dad. Love you." I didn't respond immediately. Let her wait. Let her wonder. The deadline she'd mentioned was 3 weeks away. April 30th. My trust documents would be finalized on April 25th. 5 days of buffer. Perfect timing. If Celeste asked for the money before the trust was complete, I'd have to stall. If she waited too long, she might sense something was wrong. But if everything aligned, her ask coming just after my assets were locked away, it would be perfect. I opened my calendar, counted the days. End of month, April 30th. Trust finalization, April 25th. 5 days to let her make her move. 5 days to spring the trap. 2 car doors slammed in unison. She'd brought reinforcements. I stood at my living room window, watching them walk up the driveway together. Stuart carried a leather portfolio under one arm. They'd come prepared for a presentation. The early May sun glared off windshields and concrete. Arizona heat, already building toward summer. My phone had buzzed that morning with Celeste's text. "Can Stuart and I come by this afternoon? Want to discuss that opportunity with you in person?" Translation: time to ask for my money. The trust documents had been finalized 2 days ago. April 25th, exactly as I'd calculated. Notarized, assets transferred, everything locked away in legal permanence. The manila envelope with copies sat in my desk drawer. I knew exactly where it was. Celeste didn't know any of this. I opened the door before they could ring the bell. Celeste hugged me, overly warm, compensating for the tension from our last meeting. Stuart shook my hand with businessman firmness. "Thanks for making time, Gus. We really appreciate it." "Coffee?" I headed toward the kitchen without waiting for an answer. They settled into the living room while I ran water, measured grounds, listened to them murmur to each other. When I returned with 3 cups, Stuart had already spread documents across the coffee table. The portfolio lay open, revealing the same business plan I'd already dissected, plus some hastily added pages. Stuart took the lead, voice rehearsed and confident. "Gus, we've been watching the specialty coffee market closely. The growth trajectory is exceptional, especially in college areas. Our friends secured a prime location in Tempe, right near ASU campus. Student traffic, young professionals, perfect demographics for specialty coffee." He pulled out his tablet, showed me a simple spreadsheet. "The investment we're discussing is $100,000 for a 15% equity stake. We already have 3 other investors committed. The projections show break-even in 18 months, then 20 to 25% annual returns." I sipped my coffee. Let him finish. "The franchise provides comprehensive training and support. Everything's turnkey. Build-out, equipment, operating systems, all included in the investment. We just need to close the funding round by month's end to proceed with the lease signing." I set down my cup. "Who's managing day-to-day operations? What restaurant experience do they have?" Stuart's confidence flickered. "The franchise provides extensive training. They walk you through everything." "That's not what I asked. Who specifically will be there daily, making decisions, handling staff?" "Well, our friends, the primary investors, they're committed to hands-on involvement." "What's their background? Previous restaurant management, food service?" They're motivated entrepreneurs. The franchise system is designed to... And the lease structure? What are the terms? How much is covered by this investment versus ongoing operational costs?" Celeste intervened, taking my hand across the table. "Dad, I know you're being careful. That's smart. But this is about more than just numbers on paper." Her voice softened. Stuart and I have been talking about our future, about starting a family. This investment could give us the stability we need. Your grandchildren could grow up knowing their grandfather helped build something meaningful. First mention of grandchildren. Obvious manipulation, but delivered with enough apparent sincerity that someone who didn't know better might believe it. I looked directly at her face, studying whether she believed her own words. Starting a family is significant. That's exactly why this deserves careful consideration. $100,000 is substantial. Stuart jumped back in, sensing an opening. If you have specific questions, maybe we can address them now? The timing is really critical here. The other investors need confirmation by month's end. If we can't commit, they'll have to find another partner. Then they'll have to wait 1 week for my answer. I kept my voice level. That's reasonable. If the opportunity is solid, it can withstand 7 days of due diligence. Celeste's face fell. She'd expected enthusiasm, or at least immediate interest. Dad, 1 week. That's my decision. Stuart closed his portfolio with slightly too much force. Celeste gathered her tablet, her movements stiff. At the door, she hugged me again. This time I barely returned it. Please really think about this, she said. It's not just about the business. It's about believing in us. In our future. I'll give it the consideration it deserves. I'll call you in 1 week. I watched from the window as they sat in the car, not driving away immediately. Celeste gestured animatedly. Stuart's jaw was tight, hands gripping the steering wheel. They were clearly debating what went wrong, why I hadn't jumped at the chance to invest in their future. Finally, they pulled away. I returned to my office, unlocked the desk drawer. The manila envelope lay exactly where I'd placed it. Inside, trust documents showing the house title transferred to Arizona Veterans Alliance. 65% of my liquid assets locked away in irrevocable structure. Will revised with explicit conditions. All completed 2 days ago. She'd asked for $100,000. I'd just made sure she'd get exactly what she deserved. I pulled out my phone, composed a text carefully. I've made my decision. Come by on Friday afternoon. Come alone, just you and me this time. Read it twice. Sent it. Her response arrived within 60 seconds. Okay, Dad, just us. Thank you for considering this. See you Friday? She thought I was saying yes. She thought just us meant an intimate moment where father helps daughter build her dreams. She had no idea what was actually in that envelope. Friday was 3 days away. 3 days for her to feel confident, to imagine that money in her hands, to believe her manipulation had worked. And then I'd hand her those documents. The envelope sat between us like evidence in a trial. I'd spent the morning arranging furniture, 2 chairs facing each other across the coffee table, not the casual couch setup from before. This needed to be formal. The manila envelope rested precisely in the center, impossible to ignore. Friday afternoon sun cut sharp angles through the windows. Her car pulled into the driveway exactly on time. Eager, I took a breath, not from anxiety, from preparation. Celeste walked in smiling, hugged me with what seemed like genuine warmth. It's been a nice week, Dad. The weather's finally perfect. She sat down, noticed the envelope immediately, but didn't ask. Started her approach. I've been thinking about what you said, about careful consideration. Stuart and I really appreciate you taking this seriously. It shows you respect our judgment. I raised my hand gently, stopped her mid-sentence. Before we talk about investments, I need to discuss something else. I've been thinking this week about family, about values, about what really matters when trust is broken. Her expression shifted. This wasn't the script she'd prepared for. Sure, Dad. What's on your mind? When you canceled our Hawaii trip, you said Stuart's job was in jeopardy. Financial troubles. I believed you. I kept my voice measured. Then I saw your Facebook posts. You were in Maui those exact dates. With Stuart. With Glenn and Nora. You weren't in financial trouble. You just didn't want me there. The color drained from her face like water from a sink. Dad, I can explain. It wasn't like that at all. Glenn and Nora surprised us with tickets. It was last minute. I didn't want to hurt your feelings by saying we chose their invitation instead. Stop. I didn't raise my voice. Stuart's work was fine. The photos showed expensive resort, snorkeling excursions, luau's. No financial stress. You lied to exclude me because the Morrisons wanted their family vacation without me. You chose them. She switched tactics, leaning forward. Okay, I made a mistake. I'm sorry. But that was months ago, Dad. Can't we move past it? This investment is about our future, about you believing in us. You want $100,000 for an investment Stewart couldn't explain when I asked basic questions. Unrealistic returns, no experience management, artificial deadline pressure. I picked up the envelope. You expected me to write a check like I always have. I slid it across the table. I'm not giving you $100,000, but I am giving you something. Take this instead. She opened it, confused, pulled out the notarized documents, started reading. Her lips moved silently over words: irrevocable trust, Arizona Veterans Alliance, transfer of property and assets. Confusion became comprehension. Comprehension became shock. This says you transferred the house. Her voice climbed. $650,000 to a charity? When is this dated? April 25th, 5 days before you and Stewart came to ask for money. She flipped pages frantically, found the will copy. Everything goes to this veterans organization. She looked up. I get nothing? Read it again. There's a conditional provision. But she wasn't reading anymore. She stood abruptly, papers falling from her hands. Her legs looked suddenly unsteady. Dad, what did you do? Why would you? This is insane. You can't just... She reached for the chair back, missed, stumbled sideways and collapsed onto the couch, not unconscious but overwhelmed. Sat there with her head in her hands, while legal documents scattered across my floor like broken promises. I remained standing, looking down at her. You chose the Morrisons' approval over your father. I chose to support something that actually deserves it. Veterans who served their country, not a daughter who lies to my face. She looked up, and there was no manipulation left in her expression, just raw comprehension of loss. Can this be changed? Can you undo it? No. That's what irrevocable means. It's done. Silence filled the space between us. Outside, a neighbor's sprinkler system clicked on, life continuing normally while her world collapsed. Finally, her voice came out small and hollow. Stewart and his parents, they're going to... when they find out. That's your problem, not mine. She stood shakily, left the papers scattered on the floor, walked toward the door without taking the envelope. Celeste, she stopped, didn't turn around. The documents mentioned a conditional provision, $50,000 after my death, if you accept the trust without legal challenge. Read the last page. She didn't respond. Opened the door, left. I watched through the window as she sat in her car. 5 full minutes passed before she started the engine. She was calling someone. Stewart, probably. Or Glenn. Breaking the news. I could imagine the conversation, the disbelief, the rage that would follow. Let them be angry. Let them plot. The trust was irrevocable. The law was on my side. I turned away from the window and began picking up the scattered papers from the floor. Each page represented months of planning, careful legal construction, and one simple truth. Actions have consequences, even for daughters who forget where they came from. Her car sat in my driveway for 7 minutes. I counted. I stood at the window holding the papers I'd just picked up from the floor. Through the glass, I could see Celeste's shoulders shaking, phone pressed against her ear. She was crying, gesturing with her free hand. Stewart, probably, or already calling Glenn with the news. I turned away, carried the scattered documents to my office, filed them methodically in the manila folder with the other copies. The phone stayed silent for 43 minutes. Then it started. Celeste's name lit up the screen. I let it ring through to voicemail. 2 minutes later, Stewart's number. Ignored. Then Celeste again. 3 more times before I turned the phone face down on my desk. The vibrations continued, rattling against the wood like an insistent knock. That evening, I reviewed Richard Chen's contact information, made notes about what had happened, timestamps, exact words exchanged, documentation, a habit from 30 years selling real estate. Everything written down, dated, filed. By Saturday morning, my voicemail box was full. I played them back one at a time, pen in hand. Celeste's first message, voice breaking. Dad, how could you do this? Just, how could you? Sobbing made the rest incoherent. Second message, anger replacing tears. Someone's manipulating you. This isn't who you are. You need to think clearly about what you've done. Stewart's messages were more controlled. Gus, we need to discuss this rationally. There are options here. Call me back so we can talk this through. Then a new voice, deep, authoritative. Gus, this is Glenn Morrison. We need to discuss your recent decisions. Celeste is devastated, understandably. There are serious legal implications you may not understand. Call me immediately so we can resolve this sensibly. I wrote down the key phrase, legal implications. Sunday brought a different tone. I've consulted with our attorney regarding this trust situation. Glenn's voice had gone cold. The arrangement appears highly irregular, particularly given your age and isolation. We have genuine concerns about your competency when these documents were executed. For your own protection, we're exploring legal remedies. This is your final opportunity to address this privately. The word competency landed like a punch. They were going to claim I was mentally unfit. I sat back in my chair, stared at my notes. This angle I hadn't fully anticipated. Challenge the trust by challenging my mind. Tuesday morning, a FedEx truck pulled into my driveway. The envelope was thick, formal. Law firm letterhead, Morrison and Associates. RE Irrevocable Trust, created. April 25th, 2025. Demand for rescission. I read it twice. Legal language about concerns regarding mental capacity and undue influence at time of execution. Formal requests for medical records. Demands to dissolve the trust and restore assets to my personal control. Deadline, 10 days to respond. Threat of litigation if demands not met. I called Chen immediately. I can be there in 2 hours, he said. His office felt smaller than I remembered. Chen read the letter carefully, nodding occasionally, making notes in the margins with a red pen. Standard intimidation tactics, he finally said. They're claiming diminished capacity and possible undue influence, meaning someone manipulated you into creating this trust. They have no evidence because it didn't happen, but they're betting you'll panic and settle to avoid litigation. Can they actually challenge my competency? Force this into court? They can file suit. Even baseless claims require defense. Depositions, medical records, public testimony about your mental state. It's expensive, invasive, and time-consuming. Chen set down the letter. But we have advantages. The trust predates their money request by 5 days. That proves it wasn't impulsive revenge. You were represented by counsel, me. Your intent was clear, documented, and rational. So what do we do? Get ahead of it. Comprehensive medical evaluation, physical and psychological, dated now while their challenge is pending. Shows you're confident in your mental state. Also, I'll respond formally. He pulled out his laptop. We'll note that the trust was properly executed. You're fully competent. Any litigation will be vigorously defended. And if we prevail, we'll seek recovery of attorney's fees under Arizona law for frivolous claims. I nodded. Set it up. Whatever evaluations you need. Driving home, the sun was setting over the Superstition Mountains. The sky burned orange and purple. Beautiful, indifferent. My phone rang. Celeste's name. I almost ignored it. Then answered. Dad, Glenn says we have grounds to fight this. Her voice was hard, nothing like the crying from Friday. He says you weren't thinking clearly. We're going to prove that you weren't in your right mind when you signed those papers. You're going to claim I'm incompetent? Your own father? You gave away my inheritance to complete strangers. You cut me out over one mistake. What else are we supposed to think? That you're being rational? The words were so cold, so calculated. This wasn't grief speaking. This was strategy. I've never been more rational in my life, I said quietly. And you'll learn that in court if you proceed. I hung up, sat in my darkening living room, phone finally silent in my hand. For the first time, I felt the full weight of what I'd set in motion. Not regret, I'd do it again, but recognition that this battle was real. The Morrisons had resources, legal knowledge, and motivation. They'd make this ugly. I pulled out my notebook, opened to a fresh page. Defense strategy June, I wrote at the top. Below it, 1. Medical evaluations. 2. Psychological assessment. 3. Document timeline. 4. Chen's response letter. 5. Find out what they really wanted the money for. That last item was curiosity more than necessity. The coffee franchise story had been weak from the start. What were they really planning with that $100,000? What was Glenn's actual goal? The third doctor in 10 days asked if I'd been feeling confused lately. No, I said. Check the box on the form. No confusion. Early June. Medical office waiting room, completing my third evaluation. The clipboard held questions about depression, anxiety, memory problems. I worked down the page, checking no in every column. First appointment had been my primary physician. Full physical, blood work, cognitive screening. Second was a neurologist. Detailed assessment, memory tests, executive function evaluation. Now, a psychologist for comprehensive mental status examination. Each time, the same question. Why are you here? Each time, the same answer. My family is claiming I'm mentally incompetent. I need documentation proving otherwise. The psychologist called me back, mid-40s, professional but warm. Her office had plants, soft lighting, 2 comfortable chairs angled toward each other. Your family has raised concerns about your mental capacity, she said, reviewing her intake notes. From my assessment today, I see no evidence of cognitive impairment, depression, or diminished judgment. Can you explain, in your own words, why you made these estate planning decisions? I'd prepared for this, kept it clear and factual. I discovered my daughter had lied to me about significant matters. I decided to redirect my estate toward causes I believe deserve support, rather than rewarding deception. It was a deliberate, carefully considered decision made with legal counsel, she wrote for a long moment. That sounds like a rational choice, even if others disagree with it. That's what I thought. The results came within a week. Primary physician, excellent physical health for 63 years old, all vital signs normal, no medications affecting cognition. Neurologist, mini mental state, examination score 29 out of 30, 1 point off for the exact date, which was acceptable. No signs of dementia or cognitive decline. Psychologist, detailed report, concluding patient demonstrates clear logical thinking, appropriate judgment, and full awareness of his decisions and their consequences. While I collected medical documentation, the Morrisons launched their own campaign. My former colleague, Tom Bradley, called on a Wednesday. Gus, I sent you something. Check your email. I opened it. Screenshot of Celeste's Facebook post from 2 days earlier. Sometimes the people you love most need help they won't accept. Watching a parent struggle with difficult decisions is heartbreaking, sending strength to everyone dealing with aging family members. Comments underneath. So sorry you're going through this. Thinking of you. Praying for your family. She hadn't named me. Didn't need to. People are talking, Tom said. Glenn Morrison's been holding court at the country club, telling everyone you've lost your grip on reality, giving away your estate to random organizations. People who don't know you well are starting to believe it. It's more complicated than Glenn makes it sound, Tom. I had solid reasons for my decisions. They're applying pressure to force me to reverse them. I figured, just thought you should know what's being said. The following Saturday, I went to my golf club. Hadn't been in weeks, but I refused to hide. Tom found me at the 9th hole. He was playing through, waved when he saw me. Mind if I walk with you? We headed toward the green, clubs over our shoulders. The morning was already warm, sky impossibly blue. That coffee franchise deal your daughter mentioned, Tom said casually. I ran into Mike Patterson last week. They were supposedly investing in the same thing, right? I brought it up, thought he might have details. He had no clue what I was talking about. Said they weren't investing in any franchise. I stopped walking. What made you bring it up with Mike? Just conversation, thought it was interesting. Tom pulled out his putter, lined up a shot. But then I heard Glenn at the clubhouse talking about his house renovation and buying a boat. Expensive one, too. This was right after your daughter asked you for money. Seemed like quite a coincidence. The pieces clicked into place with perfect clarity. There was no franchise, I said. No real investment opportunity. Tom nodded slowly. That's how it looks to me. I'm sorry, Gus. I know she's your daughter. But if she's helping them lie about you being incompetent while they're the ones being dishonest, that's not right. Would you be willing to put what you just told me in writing? Dated. Signed. I need documentation if this goes to court. He hesitated, Getting involved in family drama wasn't something anyone wanted. But after a moment, if they're lying about your mental state, I'll tell the truth about their fake investment scheme. That's only fair. I'll email you something tomorrow. 2 days later, Tom's statement arrived. Typed, dated, signed. Detailed account of his conversation with Mike Patterson. Description of overhearing Glenn discuss renovation and boat purchase. Contact information for verification. I forwarded it to Chen immediately. By mid-June, my defense package was complete. 3 medical evaluations showing full competency. Psychological assessment confirming sound judgment. Timeline proving the trust preceded their money request by 5 days. Tom's statement exposing the fraudulent investment scheme. Documentation of Celeste's Hawaii deception with Facebook screenshots. Chen reviewed everything in his office. Papers spread across his desk. "This is excellent," he said. "The medical evaluations are thorough and recent. They can't claim you were impaired 2 months ago, but competent now. The timeline proves clear intent, not impulsive revenge. And Tom's statement destroys their credibility. If they proceed with litigation after seeing this, they're risking sanctions for frivolous claims. What's the next step? We wait for their formal filing. If they actually sue, we respond with all of this. We'll also file a motion for attorney's fees. Frivolous litigation should cost them, not you. Meanwhile, the 10-day deadline from their initial letter has passed. They haven't filed yet. What does that mean?" Chen leaned back in his chair. "Could mean they're reconsidering. Could mean they're preparing a stronger case. Or," he paused, "could mean they're trying a different approach first." My phone buzzed on his desk. Text message from Celeste. "Dad, can we talk? Just you and me. No lawyers. Please." I showed Chen the screen. He read it and looked up. "That's the different approach. They want to negotiate." The lawsuit that never was officially ended on a Tuesday morning. Richard Chen slid the letter across his desk. 1 page, formal letterhead, legal language about withdrawal of claims upon further review of circumstances and evidence. Translation: they'd seen my medical evaluations, Tom Bradley's statement, and knew they'd lose. Their attorney would have been sanctioned for pursuing a frivolous claim, Chen said. His smile was professional, but I could see satisfaction behind it. The trust is ironclad. You've proven competency beyond any reasonable doubt. Will they try again? Not through legal channels. But family pressure? That's different. He tapped his pen against the desk. That's why Celeste wants to meet without lawyers. She's going to ask you to voluntarily modify the trust. I'd expected this. Anticipated it, even. I'll meet with her, but on my terms. That afternoon, I texted Celeste, "We can meet. My house Friday afternoon. Come alone." I didn't tell her the lawsuit was withdrawn. Let her think it was still pending. Friday, I prepared like a business negotiation. Printed Tom Bradley's statement. Found the Facebook screenshots from Hawaii. Arranged them on my coffee table, ready if needed. The doorbell rang at 2 o'clock. Celeste looked tired. No makeup, simple jeans and a plain shirt. Calculated vulnerability. She hugged me. I allowed it stiffly. We sat in the living room. Same spot where I'd handed her the envelope months ago. "Dad, I've had weeks to think." Her voice was soft. "About what I did, the lies, Hawaii, how I treated you." Pause. "I was wrong. I let Stuart's parents influence me too much. I prioritized the wrong things. I'm sorry." Her eyes welled up. Real tears or performance? I couldn't tell. Didn't care. I said nothing. "I know I hurt you. I know trust is broken. But I'm still your daughter. That has to mean something." She shifted tactics. "I'm not asking for that investment money. That was a mistake anyway. But the trust, couldn't we revisit it? Maybe add me as co-beneficiary with the charity? You'd still help veterans while also helping your own blood." I'd heard enough. I picked up Tom's statement from the coffee table, slid it across to her. "Before we discuss trusts, let's discuss truth. There was no coffee franchise, was there?" She picked up the paper, started reading. Her face went pale. "Mike Patterson never invested. The opportunity never existed. Glenn wanted money for his house renovation and a boat." I pulled out the Facebook screenshots. "And Hawaii wasn't a last-minute surprise. You planned that trip with the Morrisons from the start." I showed her the posts. Her own words, dated before she'd invited me. "That's not—" Tom misunderstood the situation. "Tom has given a sworn statement. The evidence is clear." She tried a different approach. Glenn and Nora pushed the investment idea. When I found out what they really wanted the money for, I was already committed. You don't understand what it's like being married into that family. The pressure, the expectations. I'm caught between you and them. You had choices at every step, I said quietly. You chose to lie about Hawaii. You chose to present a fake business plan. You chose them over me. Own your choices, Celeste. Her eyes filled again. Then give me one more chance. I'll fix things with Stuart's parents. I'll be better. Just don't cut me out completely. There's a conditional provision in the trust. $50,000 for you after my death, if you accept, without challenge. I watched her face calculate. But there's one requirement to claim it. What requirement? You'll come here with Stuart, Glenn, and Nora present. You'll confess out loud that Hawaii was planned without me and the investment was fake. You'll admit the truth in front of everyone. With my attorney as witness. She recoiled like I'd slapped her. That's humiliation. You want me to destroy my marriage? Glenn and Nora will never forgive me. Stuart will hear the truth about who he married and what his parents did. Whether that destroys anything depends on what your relationships are actually built on. She stood, shaking. The submissive mask was gone completely. You're punishing me. This isn't about justice or lessons. You're just bitter and vindictive. I'm giving you a choice, I said, still seated. Truth and 50,000, or lies and nothing. Choose. 50,000 for destroying my relationship with my in-laws? That's not a choice, that's extortion. Then don't choose it. Walk away. But the trust doesn't change either way. She stormed to the door, turned back. You're not the father I knew. You've become cold. And you're not the daughter I raised, I said quietly. But here we are. She left. The door slammed. I sat in the empty room, surrounded by printed evidence of betrayal. Gathered the papers slowly, returned them to my files. I'd given her a choice, a hard choice, but fair. Truth for $50,000. She'd called it extortion. Maybe it was. Or maybe it was the price of honesty in a family built on lies. My phone stayed silent. No angry texts, no voicemails. She needed time to process. Maybe she'd choose truth. Probably she wouldn't. Either way, the trust remained. The Veterans Charity had received their first quarterly distribution last week, $8,000 helping homeless veterans find housing. Chen had forwarded their thank you letter. I'd read it 3 times. That money was doing actual good, helping people who'd served something larger than themselves. I walked to my office, opened the desk drawer, pulled out a folder labeled Future Plans. Inside, information about Maui resorts, activities, restaurants, the birthday trip I'd never taken. I opened my laptop, found the resort website I'd bookmarked months ago. Maybe it was time. The text arrived after I'd given up expecting it. 4 weeks of silence. Then Sunday night at 11. I'm ready to accept your conditions. I'll do it. Just tell me when. I read it 3 times. Hadn't believed she'd actually agree. Had written off the 50,000, assumed pride would win. I forwarded it to Richard Chen. She agreed. Need you present as witness. His response came within the hour. I'll prepare documents. When? This Saturday. My house. 2 p.m. I texted Celeste. Saturday afternoon. Stuart, Glenn, and Nora must be present. My attorney will witness and prepare documents. Her reply. They don't know yet. How do I get them there? Tell them I'm reconsidering the trust, that we're discussing modifications. Get them there however you need to. Saturday arrived hot and bright. I'd spent the week preparing. Cleaned the house, organized documents, briefed Chen on what to expect. He arrived first, professional in his dark suit, leather portfolio under one arm. Then Celeste and Stuart. She looked pale, hands trembling slightly. Stuart seemed confused about the meeting's purpose. Finally, Glenn and Nora. Glenn walked in confident, already talking. Gus, I'm glad you've reconsidered this charity business. We can work out something fair for everyone. 7 people in my living room. Too many for the space. The air felt thick. We're not here to discuss the trust, I said. It's not changing. We're here because Celeste has something to say to all of you. Confusion rippled through the room. Stuart looked at his wife. What's going on? I nodded to Celeste. Whenever you're ready. She was shaking. Took a deep breath. Nora's voice cut sharp. Celeste, what is this about? There are things I need to admit. Celeste's voice trembled. Things I lied about. She looked at me, then continued. Last March, I invited Dad to Hawaii for his birthday. Then I canceled, claiming we had financial problems. That was a lie. We went to Hawaii those same dates, with Glenn and Nora. It was planned that way from the start. Dad was never supposed to be included. Silence. Then Glenn. That's not. Let her finish, I said. Celeste continued. And the coffee franchise investment wasn't real. There was no franchise, no other investors. Glenn, you wanted money for your house renovation and a boat. You asked us to get it from Dad. We lied about it being a business opportunity. Glenn shot to his feet. This is ridiculous. That investment was completely legitimate. I pulled Tom Bradley's statement from the side table, placed it where everyone could see. I have a signed witness statement. Your supposed co-investors knew nothing about any franchise. The same witness heard you discussing house renovation and boat purchases, right after my daughter asked me for money. Chaos erupted. Nora turned on Celeste. After everything we've done for you, we treated you like our own daughter, and you repay us with lies and betrayal? Stuart, quiet and hurt. Why didn't you tell me the truth? I thought your dad was just being difficult. Celeste, defensive. I was trying to keep everyone happy. Your parents wanted the money. Dad had it. I thought I could make it work. You orchestrated this humiliation, Glenn said to me, turned our daughter-in-law against us. I gave Celeste a choice, I said. Tell the truth or walk away. She chose truth. What that reveals about your family is your problem, not mine. Richard Chen watched, taking notes, saying nothing. After several minutes of accusations flying back and forth, I stood. This meeting is over. The confession has been witnessed and recorded. I nodded to Chen. The documents? Chen produced papers from his portfolio. This establishes a $50,000 trust fund in your name, Ms. Griffin, accessible only after your father's death. Conditions are no financial requests to your father during his lifetime, no challenges to the primary trust, and acceptance of the confession made here today. Do you understand? Celeste's voice came out hollow. I understand. She signed. Chen notarized. The Morrisons left first. Glenn furious, Nora in tears of rage. Neither spoke to Celeste or Stuart. Stuart lingered. I didn't know about Hawaii. She told me you couldn't make it. Then to Celeste. We need to talk. They left together. Stuart's body language was distant, careful. Chen packed his papers. That was uglier than expected. It needed to be ugly, I said. Pretty lies got us here. Ugly truth gets us out. After he left, I stood alone in the quiet living room, picked up a letter from my desk, from Arizona Veterans Alliance, thanking me for the quarterly distribution that helped house 3 homeless veterans, real people, real help, real purpose. I walked to my office, opened my laptop. The Maui Resort website was still bookmarked. I completed the reservation I'd started weeks ago. One person, Ocean View Room, mid-September, added the snorkeling tour at Malakini Crater, dinner reservation at the restaurant with sunset views, everything I'd planned for my birthday trip, now rescheduled for myself. Alone. The confirmation email arrived. Hawaiian Airlines, seat 12A, window seat, 1 passenger, Gus Griffin. I looked at the screen and allowed myself a small smile. 63 years old and finally learning that freedom isn't given, it's taken. One decision at a time. The house felt peaceful, not empty, peaceful. Next month, the Veterans Charity would receive another distribution. Chen had called it meaningful impact. I called it money actually doing good instead of funding lies. I printed the Hawaii itinerary, placed it in a folder on my desk. September in Maui. Sunrise from Haleakala. Snorkeling. Fresh fish while watching sunset. Alone, but not lonely. Free from the weight of other people's expectations. My phone stayed silent. No texts from Celeste, no calls from Stuart, no threats from Glenn. The silence itself was victory. I walked to the window. The Arizona sun was setting, painting the desert gold and red, beautiful and harsh at the same time. Like truth, I'd won. Not by destroying them, but by refusing to be destroyed. Not by taking revenge, but by taking back control. They could keep their anger and their blame. I'd keep my integrity and my ticket to Maui. Fair trade. If you like this story, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share your impressions of this story in the comments. To listen to the next story, click on the box on the left. Thank you for watching.